This looks like a job for Superman.
Hey everybody, Rez the Collector here with another Superman, or Superboy in this case, related video. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about evolution. Now, I don't mean evolution in the sense that we all came from primates. I mean the evolution of a character. I've been frequenting a lot of the Superman boards lately, and there are still a lot of people out there upset about the New 52. And I admit that it took quite a while for the New 52 to grow on me, and while I do like some aspects of the New 52, there are aspects that I miss about the previous continuity. Now notice I say previous continuity and not original continuity. And that's one of the things that I want to address in this video. So many people are calling for the return to the original continuity without really realizing that what they're talking about is not the original one. Characters evolve. Superboy is 70 years old, just about 70 years old. He debuted way back in 1944. Now, the comic he debuted in had a date of 1945, but we're going to discuss that in just a few minutes. So the character is nearly 70 years old in print, but is just about as old as Superman in idea. And when you take a look at something like that, you've got to realize that things have changed. And going back to the previous continuity, while I'm not going to say DC is never going to go back to something similar to that, that continuity is not the original one. And anything they move to, if they leave the New 52, is still going to be something new. So I'm calling this video series Evolution Through the Ages Superboy. And this, of course, is just the first one. We're going to be taking a look at a few different characters in the future of these videos. Of course, we're going to be starting with the Superman family. So we're going to do Superboy. Next will probably be Supergirl, and then we're going to go to Superman. Now, the Through the Ages thing, DC Direct put out a series of figures quite a few years ago. They did two different sets. They did Superman Through the Ages, and they did Batman Through the Ages. Now, I really think that DC missed an opportunity here in that there was so many other characters that could have been explored with this Through the Ages set. What really shocked me, and I actually had to look this up, is that there's no Wonder Woman Through the Ages. They stopped with Superman and Batman, which, again, I mean, if they were going to do just a few, they should have at least gotten the Trinity. They should have done all three. But so many characters have changed throughout the years that we could have gotten this concept with so many different characters out there. We could have done Superboy, like I'm about to do now, with, of course, 4 different versions of Superboy that you see in front of you. Robin, we could have done the various Robins up to Nightwing, or just various Robins. We could have gotten Dick Grayson. I don't know about getting a Dick Grayson and a Jason Todd, as their costumes were extremely similar, and really the big differences kind of came down to, if you were doing original Dick Grayson, the fact that he did not have a domino mask, and the original one had a wraparound mask and a tie in the back. And I suppose you could do Jason Todd with the different haircut and the domino, and then of course we've got Tim Drake. And then for a 4th figure, you could go any number of different ones. You could do Red Robin, you could do Carrie Kelly, you could do the Spoiler when she was Robin for a short amount of time. You could do Damian Wayne. That would probably be the one that would be the smartest. I forgot about Damian for a second. But, I mean, look at that. That would be 4 amazing figures to have through the ages. Of course, Wonder Woman, as I just discussed, we could do Wonder Woman Through the Ages. We could do 4 amazing figures out of that. Any DC, basically any property from DC you could take and you could do it Through the Ages and really explore, not only in the figures but in the little stories that were included, little comics that were included, such as what came with the Superman and the Batman, of how the figure, the character, The whole aspect of what that character is has changed through the years. So really a missed opportunity. I know that DC Collectibles is putting out basically another Through the Ages set, kind of, with the 75th anniversary of Batman. I really wish they had done this with Superman. But basically, they're not giving us anything new. They're just doing new paint apps on already released figures. And I wish that they would give us something new in these sets. Now, don't get me wrong, like the Arkham Origins Batman from that set looks amazing. And even though I have both the Mattel and the DC collectibles, I would really love to have that new paint job as well. In the Superman one, we got one original-ish. Well, I guess they weren't even really. There was original aspects about them. Because the first appearance had like a different cape and different head sculpt. The John Bryan figure was basically an Alex Ross body with a new head sculpt and paint apps. The Jim Lee, again, just a variation of the figure that was put out in Hush. And then the robotic was basically a new paint app, and then an updated hands and head. From the McGinnis figure. So I mean, it was differences, but I mean, there's so much that they could do, so many different looks and so many different artists, and I think they've explored that again in the Black and White series for Batman, and now the Man of Steel series for Superman, giving us those different looks. But I've gotten way off track, just kind of explaining where we're going and what we're doing with this. This is Evolution. Superboy Through the Ages. So let's go ahead and just take a look here. And the reason I started this, again, I was looking at those boards, and I just finished, or not finished, he's still got a little work to do, the black shirt Superboy is a custom here that I've done. But we're going to go ahead and just move some of these guys out of the way, and we're going to talk about them each one in turn. Some of them more detailed than the others. Of course, some of them around a lot longer than the others. So the one that we're going to start with is, of course, Superboy. Now, so many, like I said, incarnations and different versions of these characters. The original Superboy was simply Superman as a young adult or teenager. Now, the original idea was pitched to Detective Comics, which was DC originally. They were just called Detective Comics. And then when they started releasing other titles besides Detective, they just kind of eventually shortened the name to DC. Now, this was originally pitched to DC back in 1938 in November. And it was pitched by Siegel alone without Schuster. And Detective turned him down, so they didn't want to do it. And then again, he pitched it 2 years later. Again, they turned it down. And then finally, in 1944, after they had seen the appeal of a younger character in Robin, the original Dick Grayson, who had come out in the Batman comics, they finally decided to go ahead and do a Superboy. And they did it with the art of Siegel without basically Schuster's approval or knowledge, really, because he was off fighting in World War II. So this original incarnation was just Superman as a young man, and it gave them an opportunity to tell so many more new stories about the character without having to mess with the continuity of the adult hero. So they got to take somebody that everybody was loving as a character and take them out of the situations they were normally in. They got to take them away from Lois Lane and the Daily Planet and try to reach younger readers with stories that appeal to them, with Clark Kent trying to deal with school and having crushes on, schoolmates with Lana Lang and his best friend Pete Ross, and how a young teenager would deal with having these kinds of superpowers and the kinds of things that he would get into in that time frame. And that version of Superboy lasted for a whole lot of years. Because there was so much that they could do with it. Eventually he joined up with the Legion of Superheroes and fought in the 31st century. before returning back. And I mean, there was just so much that could be done. Now, the figure you see here is actually the Crisis on Infinite Earth Superboy-Prime, which is a completely different Superboy. Basically, I'm talking main continuity here and the differences that we got. So this was the Superboy that we had for the longest time. Now, he was wiped out of existence, just whoop, gone. And that happened in the 1985-1986 huge DC event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. What this did was basically take the huge multiverse that DC had basically created since its basically its debut of these heroes in 1938, 1939 with Superman and Batman, and all the multitude of characters that have been created since then, and tried to whittle that down to one continuity. And in doing so, sounds very familiar, doesn't it, guys? In doing so, they took one Earth, one set of stories, and basically wiped away everything that had become before and chose little bits and created whole new aspects of these characters, vastly changing some of them. Superman being one of them. His entire career as Superboy was completely wiped away, gone out of continuity. We got a vastly depowered Superman at that point. The pre-crisis Silver Age Superman could do so many things. He could juggle planets, he could sneeze and blow out a star, all these different things that happened. But all of that was wiped away with Crisis on Infinite Earths. And Superman was basically rebooted by John Byrne in 1986 with his new storytelling. And basically we didn't have another Superboy in comics until 1989 to 1991, where DC had basically taken a college-aged Superman, again wearing this classic costume, again being a younger version of Superman, based off of the Adventures of Superboy TV show. And basically they were just playing off of that. But this was not really a main continuity thing. And as I said, we're going to be discussing main universe continuities. But that was a Superboy that was put out for that time frame. But again, just based off the TV show. The next Superboy we got was not a version of a young Superman. It was not Superman as a young man. It was a completely different being. And he debuted in 1993 with the Death of Superman. Now, this Superboy, as you can see here, this was his debut costume, was a clone created by Project Cadmus, yes, there we go, to basically replace Superman, who had died fighting the monster Doomsday. This was a whole new take on the Superboy mythos. It gave him a whole new costume. Yeah, there we go. Costume, and set him on a new path, gave us new stories that could be told from this new aspect of Superman, this clone. Now, when he was originally cloned, everybody was calling him Superboy, and he hated it. One of the big things in all of his debut comics, the first whatever months it was him telling everybody not to call him Superboy, to call him Superman. Now you can see drastic changes in the look for our Superboy, because they really wanted to distance themselves from the original Superboy look that was basically just a younger version of our Superman in the classic costume. So this costume was redesigned with a extremely 90s look. And this was, what, 21 years ago. So very, very 90s, very bright and brash colors, and like the leg band thing here, and the gloves and the coat, and the bowl haircut, the earring, just very, very 90s. Now, he is wearing a leather jacket, and he does have the customary yellow S on the back of it. Like I said, it was a very, very different take on a classic character. What we got with him was a move to a different area. This Superboy actually ended up going to Hawaii, and having a great deal of adventures there. He eventually took the name of Kal-El. This was a name given to him by Superman. It was basically representing the second house of El. There was a whole storyline where Superman took him to the Fortress of Solitude and showed him basically his time viewer, where he was able to see the origin of this name. It was somebody who had helped out the House of El many, I think it was thousands of years before. It's been a long time since I read the comic, but and was basically given the name of El and became the second house. So Superman passed down this name to this new Superboy, who was accepting at this point that he was Superboy and not Superman. He accepted this with the return of Superman. Gave this boy the name Kal-El, basically making him Superman's cousin, kind of. So this was the Superboy that we now had, again, starting in 1993, so 21 years ago. A vast change from what we had originally have and the continuity that was wiped out in 1985 or 86. And again, guys, you're seeing a pattern here. This was a vast change, but people ended up accepting it because they still had the original Superman around, and it was something new to have. Now, he had quite a few variations of this costume. One of them given to him by the Legion. Sometimes he wore the jacket, sometimes he didn't. But eventually he took on a more customized look. Or actually, not customized, but simpler look. And that's the custom that I was just working on. Now, when they got rid of that and gave him this, I would say that this is the point where the character became a lot more mature. He had taken the name of Connor Kent, and at the suggestion of Superman, had moved in with Superman's adoptive parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, as a nephew, and which would basically make him a cousin of Clark, and basically learned what it really was to have a family. Now, at this point, he was associated with the Teen Titans, and this is the suit that he adopted while with the Titans. And it took the character in new and fun ways, because he wasn't a brash kid anymore. He was drawn much more mature, a lot less brash than he had been. And it was a fun new take on the character, and a lot of people really liked the simplistic costume that he wore. It was basically just a black t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and that was it. And we saw that look kind of resurface with the New 52 in Action Comics with the new version of Superman. But again, this was a departure from what we had seen. And of course, the newer version of Superboy, he didn't last all that long, unfortunately. Not like his predecessor, which was the young Superman, who went from like 1944 to his continuity being wiped out in 1985. So, I mean, he had a good 40 years of stories behind him, where we had this version of Superboy for less than 20. But he was well loved. The whole clone thing and how he basically got to mature in that short of time, people really ended up loving this character. But like I said, he did not get to last very long, about half the time of the original Superboy. So finally, when DC Comics once again decided to reboot their universe, something that we've discussed here, they've done many times before. So everybody who's crying again about the New 52, you've got to realize that this is a pattern. This is something that a company has to do to keep stories fresh, to keep things new. And if they ever do go back to more classic looks, it's still not going to be the original continuity. Give up on that. They may go back to a Superman who wears red underwear. They may go back to a Superboy who wears a black t-shirt. But it's never going to be exactly what it was, and what it was not what it had been previously. So, I mean, it's really something that you have to accept, that characters evolve. They change. They have to change with the time, or they're not going to make it. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is, yes, you may have loved the previous version of Superman with his red undies. And you may really dislike the new version that is younger, brasher, angrier. I know that those are aspects of his personality that I don't care for. But Superman has changed through the years. Superboy has changed through the years. Batman has changed through the years. The original Batman, when he originally debuted, he used a gun. That is not the Batman that we know today. Is not the Batman we knew 20 years ago, but 75 years ago, that was Batman. And it interests me so much to see how much a character has evolved through the years. And that's why I'm doing this. And I know I'm repeating myself quite a bit. But I just wanted to share with you guys the history of this, and that to let some of the people who are crying about the new 52 that it's not going to last forever. DC is going to change again at some point, but what we get isn't going to be what we had. And you've got to accept that. Now, with that being said, this is our most recent version of Superboy. I believe actually this guy's dead, and there's issue 26, new John Lane Kent, which is an alternate version child of Superman and Lois, has taken over. But in the 2011 reboot of DC Comics, the New 52, this was the Superboy that we got. Again, this was a clone of Superman that was grown, and this one is much, much angrier than our previous versions. He has, again, a completely new, stylized, and updated costume. Something that we'd never seen before, and again, people got really upset about that. But you got to remember, in 1993, when we got the last Superboy, that was a costume that we'd never seen before. That was completely different. That was a new update, a new version of the character, and it's evolution. This is where the character is now, and that's not to say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that this is going to be in any way what our Superboy is. But just to take a look at him, I mean, we've gone with a new black suit with red armor lining. Of course, he does still bear that nice Superman S on him, but he's still very different from what we've had. So there you guys have it. Superboy has evolved through the ages, and whether you like that evolution or not, we've really got to come to accept it, because it's going to continue to happen, and that is not a bad thing. Now, you may not like the way every character evolves. You may feel nostalgic and miss the versions of your youth, and I'm right there with you. I feel that. I miss the red underwear. I miss a Superman that had a lot more morals and a lot more control. But that's not to say that the new one doesn't have its virtues as well. And that can be said with every character in the DC universe, that while they may not be what we had, there are good things about what we have now. Now, this was quite a long video, guys, and I want to thank you for anybody who stuck it out with me. I hope that you learned a little bit about the character of Superboy. Of course, if there's anything that I said that was incorrect on here, please feel free to correct me. I did actually do some research and took some notes in my handy-dandy Boba Fett notebook. As you can see here from my terrible handwriting, there's notes and all kinds of stuff in here, with probably a shit ton of misspelled words. But I wanted to do some research. I wanted to share with you guys. And again, I'm hoping that this is going to be video 1 in a series. The next one I'd like to do would be Supergirl through the ages. Because like Superboy, Supergirl has had a lot of different aspects. A lot of different versions that weren't always Superman's cousin. And I'd really like to explore that one as well. But let me know what you guys thought of this video. I do want to, of course, thank you for watching. This is Rez the Collector. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and you guys have a very nice day.